it's John from positiveresolution.co.uk and welcome to the Business Growth Weekly. As per usual, I'm joined by my good friend Stephen Swift from YorkshireMarketingBusiness.com. Morning Steve, how are you doing?
I'm good, John. How's things with yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm in good spirits today. So it's
Fantastic.
the start of a new chapter and an exciting project for both of us, I think this. And I guess with that in mind, we better point out to people that this is the first episode of the Business Growth Weekly that we've done. Basically, it came about because myself and Steve got back in touch, which I'm going to leave Steve to tell you all about in a second. And we started finding things in common and the fact that we were having these conversations. And we said, wouldn't it be great if we turn the camera on and hopefully other people can get some benefit out of it as well? So that's about right, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it was a chance encounter thanks to the power of social media, which obviously is something that we'll be covering one of the topics in future weekly recordings for people to gain a bit more experience, knowledge, some tips and tricks about social media, and just allow them to comment back and ask questions as well, which is something that we'll also be covering on the weekly broadcast that we do. We'll pick up on a new topic, but we'll also have a Q&A answer session with regards to questions people have put to us from the previous week's recording. So it will be a kind of interactive to a degree at this stage before going with a full-blown live webinar interactive as it actually happens, as I think we've probably got planned for later on, haven't we, John?
Absolutely, and I think it's a great time to mention that, and obviously I'll tell people again at the end, but we've set ourselves up with a Facebook page that people can go on and comment on this video and ask us questions, and we do respond. So if you want to do that, head over there to Facebook, and it's facebook.com/Business Growth Weekly.
Absolutely, yeah. So, head on over there, guys, and like the page. Keep in touch with us. I know it's sometimes a bit awkward to feel that you can comment on things, or people don't always like to comment. They'll sit back quietly on the fence and read things, which is great when people do that. But we can't really help people as much as we'd like to, John, I'm sure you'll agree, if people don't actually comment and communicate with us, because we can talk about the topics which we feel are possibly of use to people, but unless they turn around and say that topic was okay, but shame you didn't cover this aspect, then we can shoot a video on it, can't we?
Absolutely, and I think the point is, like you said there, some people don't like to comment on things, some people don't like to put constructive points across on those kind of things, and just to set everybody's mind at rest, I've been called all the names under the sun in the past, so has Steve. You can't upset us, and we'd rather know, because we want to cover the things that are going to be interesting to everybody else as well, because if they're interesting to you and we haven't covered them, probably they're going to be interesting to us as well. So the next question, I guess, because this is the first episode and you want to know why you should be listening into this conversation, is we ought to tell you a bit about ourselves. I'm going to leave it up to Steve to tell you a bit about himself first. He's already mentioned social media. So why don't you tell us a bit about how you got involved with that, Steve, and a bit about your background and that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure. I think the social media, and I must apologise to everybody, you keep drinking water.
I think we're both going to be doing that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's. I've just finished a training course actually about social media, so I'm just going to keep that little bit on topic. And there's a video actually of it was a one-on-one training that I did with somebody that owns their own card shop and everything. So there'll be a video on the YouTube channel about that. But we'll drop a link somewhere in on Facebook so you can see what people think about the one-on-one training that we're doing. That's not like this. That's a video. It's actually face to face. But the social media is obviously elements that I've been involved with now for quite some years, and it's really added value to raising my profile, helping my business. But it's not just about me. I've got to where I am in life, in my career, as a marketing consultant because of the success of others. And I always like to put that across. If I don't deliver what people require and need in the right way to get them results, then people don't hear and find out about me. Okay, so, it's not all about me and what I've done. I've got to where I'm in life because of the success I've brought to other people. So, and obviously that's down to the testament to what I've learned over the years and what I've then implemented for business owners, whether they're just starting out, whether or not they're an established company already, and they're looking to get into new areas. Another thing which I'm very passionate about and that I'm involved with is the Printers Trust. I'm very fortunate to be a business mentor for the Printers Trust. So I get to help people that maybe have an unfair advantage because they've got the expertise and knowledge that they don't necessarily pay for. But in time, obviously, that'll pay a dividend in a strong foundation for their business. So that gives me a nice warm feeling and a reward there that I'm giving back. So, I mean, my background, just to try and give some sort of credibility, and there's a number of videos on the YouTube channel that we have. Again, we'll post the link in on the Facebook at some point, just so you can hear from other people rather than me saying, look, blow my own trumpet, this is me, this is what I've done. They can, let you know what they've got from the training that they've had when they've attended the workshops that I've held. They can tell you how it's impacted on their businesses and what they have got as a benefit, direct results as well from the training that I've shared, the knowledge and expertise that I've got. But I mean, I obviously had to start from the ground roots up. I had to learn this. I invested a lot of time, invested a stupid, obscene amount of money in learning everything I do. But obviously, I was investing in my future. So now what I say to people is, yes, it might cost you X amount of money to have my consultation time, but you're investing in your business and your future. So what you pay me now today is a one-off fee, but in 6 months, 12 months time, and on from there, you are constantly reaping the rewards. And it could turn out your business into making, like one of my companies did, nearly £500,000 in 3 years, a six-figure income. So if I've only charged you £2,000 for a week's worth of real in-depth on-site one-on-one consultation, and in 12 months' time it turns your business another £300,000, £400,000, then that was a very small investment in your business to get a huge return investment, just as an example. So from building my own business to start with, from a spare room in my home, which is something else which I have running again, with yourself, John. We're on with doing a joint venture on that, which is something else which I enjoy doing with people. If two people have good ideas and have great content and expertise they can bring to the table, if you join those together, you're doubling the value of something for somebody that then takes up on whatever the offer might be. I've not always had success in life. I've had some huge failures as well, and I think that's just helped me learn and make me a lot tougher and help me spot things that aren't quite right and make the tweaks and adjustments before the wheels come falling off, basically. So when people say, you've got it easy, you're making good money, you've got a good lifestyle, trust me, I have been at the bottom of the ladder, from growing something from nothing to being extremely successful to being scraping out of my pocket for the last couple of pounds and pence. Making sure that if I didn't have to go somewhere in the car to burn fuel that I didn't need to use, I wouldn't do it. Simple as that. So I can look at every aspect of starting a business falling over, starting another business, growing a business, and knowing how to position your business to the best effect possible. So I'm all about a win-win, really. If the person that I'm helping becomes successful, then that's a success story for me. That's it in a nutshell.
It's really interesting that because, as you know, I'm a life coach, but over the years, what's happened is my practice has developed into working with small business owners specifically, because there's a lot of issues that are specific to people who are trying to build a business, and a lot of people think that if they focus all of their time on the business, that it's going to improve their life. And what happens, of course, is that along the way, the business might improve, but their life doesn't, or they end up with a goal that they didn't know they were aiming for. But there was a couple of things that you mentioned, which is actually the reason why I wanted to work with you, and one of the reasons why I think that actually these episodes are going to be really useful for people. And the first thing you mentioned there was your passion for what you do. And I like working with people who are as passionate about what they do as I am about what I do. And I think everyone can sort of see how passionate you are about the results that you can get from following these different things and learning about what you need to know. Because one of the things for me is, and again, you can tell me if you come across this in what you do, is that people assume that if you work for yourself, you know everything about everything. You have to be, knowledgeable about the whole gamut of business, and that's great. But it's one of the things that I had to learn very quickly. I mean, like you, I've run different businesses in the past, but I'm very good at life coaching. I'm extremely good at or at least my clients tell me I'm extremely good at what I do. But does that mean I'm great at bookkeeping? Does that mean I'm great at, at marketing for that market? Not necessarily. You have to learn these things, and what I did, I take different views and different experiences from other areas of life. I don't stick rigidly into the sort of the coaching industry. And I remember years ago having a conversation with somebody in the music industry, and they said, you know what, this is what I do. I only do what I enjoy. Everything else, somebody else does. Right.
Yeah,
And I really took that on board, and I said, well, yeah, because, and this leads into really the main topic of today, which is why do we do it? You know, why do people start businesses and work for themselves? And really, actually, that's why I do it, because I only want to do the things that I enjoy. I didn't enjoy sitting in an office working for somebody else, making somebody else rich. You know,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
and so, but I also sat there and said, oh, some of this stuff I don't want to do. So I outsourced it. You know, I got a bookkeeper and said, there you go. You sort all that out. The
yeah,
bits that I did
absolutely.
enjoy, which were the marketing side of things and the actual doing the coaching, that's where I focused all my learning and all of my time. One of the other things that we're going to do with these is when we hit an area that we both outsource or something like, we're going to bring guests in and we'll quiz them and hopefully people get benefit from that as well. So yeah, that was the one thing, was the passion that you were talking about there, because otherwise you wouldn't put the work in, you know,
No,
because
you wouldn't. No.
running your own business, I mean, how many people, this is one question that I always ask people, is how many times have you heard people say to you, you're so lucky, you know, because you work for yourself, you can work whatever hours you want, you know, you see people coming in from work on a night, they go, oh, it's been a terrible day, I've been
Yeah,
sat on that phone all day. You're lucky you can do whatever you like, and you're sat there thinking, yeah, but I've been on the phone all day, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, and I'm still going to be doing it tonight at 10 o'clock. And
yeah.
and when you're in bed, you know.
So I think it's important to say at this point, though, John, what people need to understand is if they're considering starting their own business and saying, like you've just been saying, oh, you've got it easy, you can work when you want. Yeah, okay, that's the flip side of it. That's the benefit of running your own business. But don't be under any, misapprehension or anything that it's an easy life. It becomes easy as the business establishes itself with strong foundations, and it can only get those strong foundations if you put a serious amount of time and effort and commitment to it. It certainly hasn't happened overnight for me. There's no push button technology. Trust me, I bought hundreds of these get rich quick things, not to see if I could actually make any money out of them. Well, kind of, I guess. But the main thing is, I want to see what people are actually flogging out there that is a waste of time and rubbish, and how they're positioning it, and seeing just what are the results and what aren't. And the amount of ones where it's a cheap for free or for very little money, but then there's a huge upsell to actually get the results that they're claiming to be able to make. And others are just a load of rubbish, and they never really show you the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, because they're only making money from selling this cheap tat that doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
So, I mean, the fact that people need to understand, yes, once you've got the thing established and you've put in the groundwork and you've kept that momentum going through, then yes, it does become slightly easier, but you never take your foot off the gas, because if you do, you become dated. People don't see any relevance with it. You're not communicating with people. And if you're not constantly out there hunting it down and looking for it, then the money that you have been making starts to dry up.
yeah,
So it's a never 9 to 5 thing, I suppose, is what I'm saying. It's a case of you wake up in the morning and you have to get up and you have to grow your business. You have to work
that's
on
right.
your business. And the job gets done when the job gets done, not when it's 5 o'clock clocking off time and time to go in rush hour traffic.
Well,
Not
I
that I
think
have
you're
to worry
right.
about rush hour traffic, because I don't. I can work from the dining room table at home.
Yeah,
Today I'm in the office. I mean, so people can see I'm actually in one of the offices I'm working now. I am on the ground floor of the office complex, just on the outskirts of Leeds in West Yorkshire. So that's where I am filming this today. And I know you're in North Yorkshire, so you know
absolutely.
we don't necessarily have to work from our dining room tables. We can work from anywhere, and that's the power of what we do and the flexibility, I guess.
It is, and it again, what you've just been saying there about it's not a 9 to 5 thing. You've got to get up and do the work.
Yeah,
That's a lot of the work that I do with clients is about how do you create that discipline, how you keep that discipline. But it also relates to exactly what you've just been talking about, which is passion.
Mm.
and it's about how you motivate yourself to do that. So hopefully, as we move through these sort of weekly conversations, people are going to pick up ways that they can motivate themselves as well, which is for me that's half the battle, because I think
Yes.
if you know the processes which are going to come out again in the conversations, hopefully through the Facebook page, then it's having that discipline and the motivation to put those in practice. Because 95% of people that walk into a seminar walk out going, "Fantastic! It's going to change my life," and 6 months later they're saying, "Can't remember what we even talked about."
Yeah, it's very true. It is. It is. You're quite right, John. I mean, so many people come in with all the good intentions in the world, but they lose momentum. The passion might still be burning a bit, and the desire's there, but the momentum gets lost. And I think, if I'm right in saying this, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but I think what we've agreed to do is we're going to set people some exercises as well to do. It's not like classroom, you must do, beat
Yeah,
you with a stick if you don't, but and simple exercises. Even like from watching this video, go and like the Business Growth Weekly Facebook page.
absolutely.
That
Yes.
way, we know you're taking action. If you take
Yeah,
action, we know you're serious. We know you're going to put some effort into all these videos that we're putting together for
yeah.
people. It's a simple exercise, but it's one that we want to see people do. So we know there's commitment. Plus, we know there's a demand for it. And also, they can comment on the videos and ask questions for answer next time.
The real benefit of putting these conversations out on the internet for other people is that they will interact with each other and it'll start a conversation. So if you're on YouTube, if you're seeing this on YouTube, you can either put the comments under the video on YouTube, but we'd prefer it if you went to the Facebook page and interacted on the Facebook page, because you might not agree with some of the things we say, or you might try it out and want to report your results back, and other people can learn from that experience, and we can sort of come in and comment on that as well, and we can get into a real dialogue, and everyone can benefit from that. We really want this to be a two-way thing with you, because otherwise, myself and Steve, we could get together as we have been doing down the pub, and and
Oh, don't say that.
and
Only now and again. Although that
and
is one of our offices.
well, oh, yes, yes, in our off,
But we're
and
talking, of course, about the beer garden, so we can enjoy the sun in nice relaxed atmosphere. There's little stress, sort of thing. So, again, one of the benefits. I'm not saying that just to brag or just to wind people up, but I'm just saying that look, when you actually start this kind of business lifestyle, this is what you can do, sort of thing. So it's not just to rub your nose in when you're in an unair conditioned office and it's 30 degrees, sort of thing, on the day when we tend to have it.
yeah,
It just gives you that bit more freedom as well, which I think is another point just to very briefly mention, John, is that the people that are watching these videos and implement what we're suggesting and we're offering as advice would be starting your own little business from home potentially, just selling some products on the internet maybe.
yeah.
It gives you a different lifestyle, doesn't it?
I mean, there's different ways, and obviously the people that are going to be watching this video, some people are going to be, retail, maybe in a shop. Some people are going to be online. A lot of
Yep.
what we're going to be talking about, obviously, Steve is an expert in the online side of things. My experience is more in offline marketing, but we can. As we go along, whatever your business model is, whatever we're talking about can be applied in that way. And part of what uh, your responsibility as somebody who's watching these videos and interacting with us is concerned, part of your responsibility is to take the information that we're giving you, and yeah, along the way, hopefully you'll get involved in things that, like Steve says, will open up a different world of sort of freedom for you. But if your chosen path is to have a traditional shop, even on the high street, part of your responsibility is to take what we're talking about and apply it to your business. I'm a life coach, Steve is a business consultant, but the things that work for us can work for any other kind of business or in any other industry or marketplace, as long as you are prepared to sit down, do the homework that we're going to set you, and say to yourselves, how can that apply to what I'm doing? Because that's part of, or it's a large part of running a successful business, as far as I'm concerned, is to approach things in an open-minded way and to say, well, these two people know what they're talking about because they've used it and it works. How does that get applied to what I'm doing? And if what I'm doing isn't working, how do I switch things around?
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you just said there, John. It's quite right. Everything has its relevance. It's all about process. It's all about content. It's all about the principles of how things work. That things can get dated and can not become obsolete, but certainly over time. Like, well, this worked 3 4 years ago. Does it work today?
Yeah,
The principles of what we are sharing with people over these coming weeks and these videos will all have relevance. If you think inside the box and very black and white, you'll not see the opportunities. And hopefully in these
yeah.
videos, we will open people's minds up to seeing the greater opportunities and thinking outside the box, which is a lot of what I do for people, is come up with fresh ideas for them. And they go, yes, I can see how that's relevant to my business if done like this.
So yeah, I mean that leads us to because we said because this is the first one, we're going to keep this fairly short, but we also
How
we
are we
want,
doing?
but we wanted to make sure that people knew who we were and what our intentions were, and
Sure.
so with that in mind, obviously the homework today, which for everybody who's got this far, is to get yourselves on the Facebook page and tell us why you're in business, why you decided to do what you do. Who are you? What is your business? What does your business do? And why did you decide to go down that path? And so I think it's only fair that we answer those questions, Steve. And I'm going to ask you to answer them first, and then I'm going to jump in afterwards.
Okay, no problem. So the reason why I got into being self-employed, I'd had a number of jobs beforehand. I came out of education, engineering degree. I became a fully qualified pro technician for Lexus. I've worked my way up the ladder there, but it got to a certain point where although they were promoting from within, I was putting too much money through the till as a technician, and they wouldn't take me off the workshop floor. So after 4 times going for the service manager's job, I thought it was time to move on. I wasn't obviously going to progress, and I like to progress in life to be the best that I possibly can achieve.
Well, if I can just step in there, Steve, I think you've hit a really important point there that people don't realise, particularly when they might be in a position of employing staff, is if you take people for granted and you don't allow them to progress, don't give them that level of responsibility, they don't stay. And,
Absolutely.
and in that situation that you just described there, they'd obviously spent an awful lot of money providing you with training, which they didn't get the benefit of. So I just wanted to pull that out because that's an important lesson, I think, for anybody who's about to or already does employ staff. It doesn't matter who the staff are and what they do. How can you make them feel more valued within the workplace?
Absolutely. Yeah. Uh, a very fair point to make, and one that I think is justified to make as well. So people that are watching this video that are already employing people, do bear in mind the people that turn up every morning and make your business grow and keep it sustainable, whatever the climate might be, that you don't just take them for granted, I guess, isn't it, John?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I interrupted you there to make that point. So
It's okay,
carry.
I'm used to it. I do it to you, so it's fine. So my turn. So I mean, obviously I've done that. I couldn't move on with that, so I moved on to another company. I landed a job as a direct sales for a very well-known mobile phone company, but on a business-to-business arm as opposed to business-to-consumer, doing tariff analytics, etc., and putting them on the right tariffs, which meant they were actually saving money and they were only being charged for what they were actually using, sort of thing. So even back then, I was kind of looking for a better response to people and looking after people's well-being and thinking carefully about how much are you spending. Do you need to actually spend that amount of money? And I've taken that principle into the business I run today, the Yorkshire Marketing Business one, to say, look, you're saying you've got a £5 grand budget, but do you need to spend £5 grand? And I'll analyse that with them first on the consultation basis and say, is there a better way and a way where you don't have to spend as much money? So from that business, I've taken an element and applied it into today's business, if you like. So I've always taken value from other companies, and I've applied that obviously in today's world for what I offer people. And then moving on from the mobile phone side of things, I was a storage facility manager for a company in Leeds, which is, as I said earlier, where I'm filming this from today from the office. Which anybody wants to know, it's Colton. It's the big Regis Park at Colton. So plug for them, I guess. So not that they'll give me this free, but there we go. So after I'd worked there, I did the storage facility. I turned the business around using marketing and advertising disciplines and different strategies, and went from a 54% occupancy to 106. How do you do that? Well, you break down the various rooms you've got. So it might say you've got X amount of rooms, but if you break a big one down to smaller ones, you end up with slightly more. Hence, the percentage was higher. And we did that, and then that contract came to an end. A transport manager for the brewery industry. It was Scottish Courage I actually worked with, and Hayes Logistics. Managing clients' expectations, which obviously I understand when people have got an expectation, how to set it to the right level so we can over deliver, or certainly at the very minimum achieve the results that we've set out. But I always like to over deliver where possible.
I think
So that
oh,
job obviously helped me with expectations.
I was just going to say that's another important point to bring out, and concept for people to think about for maybe future sessions is over delivery on promise. So it's not something that we're going to talk about today, but it's something that I think is a good idea. Now you've mentioned it, that people should start, write it down and start thinking about how can I over deliver on my promise, because over delivery is a way that brings people back.
It creates retention as well, doesn't it, with
Yeah,
current clients as well?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
uh, So obviously from that, I've taken more qualities from, these companies. Yeah, they hired me. I did work for them, and then that work came to an end. But they couldn't take away the life experiences and the business experiences and management experiences which I gained from that. From that, I mean, I worked on a pig farm for like 6-7 years. I mean, my upbringing I am a farmer's lad. That's what my dad did. So, from a very early age, it was pushed out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, gun and some money, work on the farm, roll your sleeves up, get mudded up, and look after the animals, and make sure everything's nice and clean and tidy, and one thing or another. So I learned discipline in that, and how you can actually structure your day so that you can get the right kind of chores, if you want to call it chores, I prefer to call it action points to take and fulfill within the day to make sure you achieve the result you're looking to achieve. And again, I've taken that element as well, and after 6-7 years of doing that, and you have to be self-disciplined, because majority of the time I was working on my own. I had like 1,000 animals to look after, and making sure the well-being was thought of. So even though it was animal, you still had to care for it, because if you didn't, and it didn't make it onto the wagon to go to wherever it was going to, then there was no income to the business. Therefore, as a member of staff, I couldn't get paid. So it's that reliability side of things, and the responsibility as well. And again, in today's business, the Yorkshire marketing businesses, I have to obviously deliver what I say I'm going to deliver. Otherwise, people are going to be short on pocket. They're not going to get their money back, their investment or anything. So that kind of takes up to the present day on the back of the logistics company, which I started from scratch and built up. Information products website and business, which I set up and sold multiple products across a wide niche. So I know, and I've learned where to actually position something in front of the right hungry, buying crowd to get the maximum return investment, i.e. a conversion from an advert being placed to the right people seeing it, looking for that product or that service, and go from there really, which means that they can actually get the money back, what they've paid me, plus extra, because people that are seeing those adverts that I've created on the information publishing business are people that are actually got that problem or need a solution, and this product offers a solution. For example, it could be how to generate your own video to make an income for your business. YouTube's huge, so I'm sure we can cover a topic on YouTube for people on how you can structure the video, the length of time a video should be, what messages you should be putting, how you set it all up to actually signpost people to your online business. So that kind of like brings us up to today sort of thing. From what I said earlier, I've just been doing some social media training with a client on a one-to-one basis, which apart from that, I also do it in a classroom, with like 5, 10, 15, 20 people in there. And I know that's something that we'll probably be touching on more over the weeks, with other things that you and I have got going on, John.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I mean, just on a personal note, because we've never sort of talked about this. Obviously, I know your sort of background and the whole thing about Lexus and things like that, and the fact that now you do the social media stuff. But on a personal note, what benefit do you receive from working for yourself as opposed to working for somebody else? Because, like we said before this started, really, there's a lot more work involved in working for yourself. There's a lot more passion needed, a lot more motivation needed. What do you get back from that you don't get back from working for somebody else?
Simply put, I am a family man. I've got a couple of kids, wife, couple of kids, and doing what I do means I can drop them off at nursery or at school. I can make the sports days without having to ask the boss for time off work. If they need picking up early, if they're poorly, it's not really a problem. My business revolves around my family life, so it gives me freedom to enjoy family.
So it's freedom.
Absolutely. And on the back of that, because of what I do and how successful, I've managed to become on the back of other people being successful from what I do for them, obviously gives that financial freedom as well. And that just continues to grow. Some is on autopilot. I've written products, I've created products that I sell on the internet. Once I've set everything up, it's just there forever and people can buy from it. But I can be fast asleep in bed and make a sale of 300 quid. These are the sort of things which I do apart from the marketing consultancy business. So it's not all about social media for me. That's like one area. But website design, creation, getting the website seen, creating emails, doing the videos like this, sending a letter out to people just to let them know who you are and you might have a special offer on, or you've just come into a new area in the country. You want to let potential customers know you're here for a launch, maybe.
Yeah.
So there's
Absolutely.
lots of elements in it, I think. Yeah. So.
I think that's interesting because one of the things as a coach that I see all the time is that people get frustrated because a lot of people want to work for themselves because they want that sense of freedom, and because they kind of don't understand the type of work that you have to do behind the scenes to have a shop front, whether that be a physical shop front or an online shop front. They don't understand the knowledge that you have to have in order to, if nothing else, just juggle your time between those different functions and where they should be spending their time. There's a lot of sort of busy work goes on that doesn't progress people forward, and I get a lot of clients who come to me to start with who are very frustrated about that. And obviously you have managed to crack that code. I've managed to crack that code because I'm in it for freedom as well. That is my key value and the reason that I started my own business. The fact that I ended up in coaching was somewhat by accident.
Do tell us more, John. I know, but the other people watching this video don't. So I'll throw the question back to you. Just picking up what you were saying there about cracking the code, John, is the fact that the easiest thing to do before people start their own business is they have to do one thing. The code is understanding their why. Why do they want to get in business? Yeah. Why do they want to achieve this themselves? Once they've done that, that is them cracking the code and it's done. So I suppose it's time to throw things back to you because I understand and I know, obviously, what your why was. And like you just briefly said, it was about the freedom as well. That's what you're in it for. But just explain to the people watching this to hopefully just wrap this first video up, I guess. As to what your why was and where you've come from and going to.
Absolutely. Well, my background was you can take that right back to college, really. And I did business studies at college and very much enjoyed it, and got an awful lot of advice at that time, back in 1853 or whatever it was. On all the advice that I was receiving was, you've done this great business qualification, now you need an IT qualification, go and learn about computers. And I took an HND in computer studies, having never done computers before in my life, and came out of that with something of a mediocre qualification, shall we say. Not below average, but certainly not above average, and without realizing that every single other person was getting the same advice that I was, which meant that I came out of university and it was kind of a buyer's market for people who wanted to employ IT people, and I couldn't catch a cold. And alongside that, I also, by the end of that course, had decided, you know what, I never want to see another computer ever again. I really didn't. So came out and just picked up an admin job, and I started working in the civil service doing admin, and liked it, actually, enjoyed it a lot, earned some money, moved out of my parents' house and everything else, and then over time moved on from there, did some work with British Gas on the telephones, getting screamed at
Hence,
Uh,
John is extremely thick-skinned now.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And but the thing is that both of those early roles, unbeknownst to me, set me on a path because I was working for the Ministry of Agriculture, and my first week was the week that the beef crisis started. So I was getting phone calls from people who either wanted to kill me because their slaughterhouses had just been shut down, or who were in tears telling me that I was the last phone call that they were making before they killed themselves. And then you move to British Gas, and British Gas, anybody who's ever been a customer of British Gas knows that if you ring British Gas, you're probably irate. I feel perfectly justified in saying that after spending quite so long on the opposite end of the phone calls. So I had to learn how to deal with people and calm people down very, very quickly in those kind of situations. Move from there into training and development for a company called GE Capital Finance, which is part of the largest multinational in the world in training and development, designing and building training courses in things like customer service, how to deal with difficult people, risk management, all those kind of things. And I wouldn't just design them, I was then asked to deliver them. And as part of that, they had a learning centre there, which I got roped into relaunching, which was kind of my fire in marketing, doing internal marketing for the relaunch of this centre, which went particularly well. From there, did all kinds of things, but the basic thread that's continued through everything is since the very early days of me sort of working for anybody, I was coaching people and training people. And as time went on and you grow a bit older and you start reassessing your life, I started saying, well, people keep asking me to coach them. People keep asking me to teach them how I'm doing things. Maybe I ought to take this a little bit more seriously because actually that's the bit I enjoy. And very much like yourself said, well, like I said to you earlier on, I made a decision I will only do things that I enjoy. That now runs through the business that I have now, which is that, I will only do the things that I enjoy. I do face-to-face coaching because I enjoy it. I enjoy meeting new people, helping people. One of my key reasons for being self-employed is freedom, but my other driver, and the reason that I coach people is that I like to feel that I'm bringing value to other people, helping other people. And that transcends every part of my life, not just my working life, but everything I do is how can I bring benefit to the people around me, whether that be my family, whether that be a client. It might just be me, but they are really the key drivers that led me to be self-employed and led me down that path. The fact that I'm experienced, I have 15 years of coaching behind me, is pure coincidence, really. But it works very, very well. And as far as my own story goes, the thing that really made it decisive was the fact that I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, which made it, for a very large amount of time, completely impossible to work for somebody else because I couldn't guarantee that I would be fit to work hour to hour, never mind day to day. So putting this business together, it was very important that I developed a business model that meant that I could work around that condition all the time I needed to. I'm very lucky in that I don't have to work around it anymore, which means that I can bring a lot more benefit to other people now. But really that was why, was I needed that sense of freedom. I needed a sense of flexibility to be able to work around parts of my life. So that's a very, very long way of saying freedom, flexibility, and helping other people is why I am self-employed and in this industry particularly. The reason that I'm now working with you and we're doing this video is not necessarily because we're going to work together on something, but because we're friends and because I enjoy talking to you. And when we get together, I mean, we were joking about it earlier on, having the meetings down the pub and stuff, but the reason that I want to work with you and that we have these conversations is because I enjoy them. Because I only do things I enjoy. And if I didn't enjoy working with you, and if I didn't know that you were honest in your dealings and you had integrity, we wouldn't be doing it. As far as one-to-one coaching goes, I turn down many more clients than I accept because I made a decision that I need to enjoy this. I need to know that I can help this person. If those two criteria aren't met, they might be the best, nicest person in the world, but if I know that I can't help them, I'll pass them on to somebody who can help them. Because in the same as any other industry, there are specialties. which is why I deal with small business owners. I'm particularly good at dealing with small business owners, and I have that marketing and business background as well, so I understand necessarily follow a traditional coaching model. So yeah, that's an extremely long answer for you.
Just to touch on something that you mentioned there, John, about, that's a long way of saying, freedom, one thing or another.
Hmm,
And obviously the people that you're saying, unless I'm enjoy doing something and I know I can help them, I won't take on the work and I turn so much work away. I suppose
absolutely.
that we've got a very similar take on that, because if I can't add value of at least 3 times what I charge people, and
Hmm.
know that I can do that comfortably, then I'll not even engage, and I'll say, look, I don't think I can add enough value to your business. So because of what your expectations are, we either have to readjust your expectations, or I'll give you some suggestions on how you can go about doing things yourself, because that's a cheaper way of doing it. It
I,
means it's going to take you more
yeah,
time, but it's a cheaper way of doing it. So,
I think the other thing, and one of the takeaways, which maybe actually is something that we can explore in the second next week, is exactly what you just said about expectation. I certainly believe that most people who are in the early stages of putting a business together, they come to it with unrealistic expectations. And I think that part of that is down to a lot of get-rich-quick schemes that people see, and they say, oh, all I need to do is this. Part of that is there's a perception uh, with peers where they say, oh, you're self-employed, you're rolling in it. Or like we said earlier on, well, you don't have to do any work because you're self-employed. These kind of expectations can really sabotage what people are doing in the early stages. And I know that a lot of the people who are watching this video, or hopefully a lot of the people who are watching this video, are not in the early stages. But also I hope that a large proportion of those people are in the early stages, or maybe aren't even in business yet. And I would
mm,
hope that, if you know somebody who has those kind of expectations, or particularly as we go on through the weeks, can benefit from these kind of insights, you'd share the video with them, or put it on your Facebook wall, or whatever. There's an interesting quote which I wanted to get in at this point, which was Bruce Dickinson, the lead singer of Iron Maiden. I'm big into music, right, as Steve knows, but you lot will come to appreciate, hopefully, over the week. There's a great quote, and he said the one thing that stifles business, and particularly small business and entrepreneurs, is the idea that you shouldn't talk to anybody else about your business, because they might steal your idea, or they might sabotage what you're doing, and under no circumstances talk to your competitors and find out how they're doing. But the trouble is, unless you're prepared to be open, you're really stuck, because you can't take the benefit of other people's knowledge. One thing I mentioned, well, in fact, I should have mentioned, but didn't mention when I was talking about working at GE Capital. That was a real eye-opener for me. I was a very small cog in that machine, but I took a lot away. This was at the time where it was being run by Jack Welch, who some of you listening to this will know was one of the greatest CEOs of all time, turned that business around massively within a very short space of time. And one of the things that was big with him was the idea of best practice. And if it works for somebody else, they would go to their competitors and say, what's working for you? Let's bring it into our company. And it's a great way of learning techniques that, even if what you're doing now is working, you might have the best practice. You might be able to help other people by teaching them the way you work, but other people, by the same token, can do the same for you. But they're not going to offer it up. You've got to give them something first. And for me, that's very important. And I do that in different walks of life and in different ways every day. So with that in mind, I think the time has come to set some homework. I think we've more or less flogged why we do it to death.
absolutely.
I
Yeah, let's
think.
see if people watching this are going to take
And
some action. The
I,
first thing, isn't it, is go to Business Growth Weekly Facebook page.
Absolutely. The Facebook page is www.facebook.com/business growth weekly. So what we need you to do, we need you to go there and like the page, because that's going to be a real resource for you over the coming weeks. Obviously, it's fairly empty at the moment. With your help, we're going to fill it up with really interesting points of view and some advice. So your homework, what we need you to do is we need to know who you are. So that's more than just your name. That's your business name, what you do, so what your service or your product is, what your marketplace is, and we want to know why you personally became self-employed. So that's what we were talking about earlier on, the drivers. So for me, it was freedom, it was flexibility, and it was the ability to help other people. For
Can I just
Steve,
say, John?
yes,
Can
of
I
course
just
you can.
interject there 2 seconds? Some people might feel a little bit a little bit uneasy about saying, what the business name is and one thing, which I know you just said just a short time ago. Don't be frightened of actually, mentioning to people and talking and offering things up, just so we don't alienate people that are like, oh, I'm not getting involved because I've got to do that. It would be good for them still to comment on, why they wanted to become self-employed, why they're considering starting their own business to be
Yeah,
self-employed. But why don't they private message us? This is who I am, but I am going to comment below. So at least we know who it is. And if they
yeah,
want to give something in private, let them private messages on Facebook. But then,
absolutely.
so at least then we're not like saying, look, if you don't want to be seen, fine. Well, just make a comment. But anything you don't want to publicly say to everybody else, but you'd like us to know, so we get to help them more,
Sounds good
then
to me.
please use a private message as well
Yeah.
as the comment box. If I
I,
can just,
I,
sorry to interrupt there, John.
no, no, that's absolutely fine, and you're absolutely right. So yeah, we'd like to know, obviously privately, if you don't want to put it on the thing, we need to know who you are. So that's what your business name is and what your business does. If you're happy to put it on there in public, we'd love to see that, because over time, what you're building is an online network through the page, and other people might be able to sort of recommend you and things like that. But as Steve says, if you want to do that through a private message, do it through a private message. So we need who you are, why you decided to go self-employed, and that's the thing that will be great to see in public, because I think what you're going to find is there's a lot of unity with the people on that page. And it's going to be an interesting little discussion, which I'll certainly be participating in. Steve will be participating in. We'll be on there as well. But so that's your homework. The other thing we'd like to see is either on YouTube or on the Facebook page is your comments about this video. We'd like to get some feedback ourselves. This is the first time we've done anything like this. We've had a few technical problems, which meant that the video is not how we would necessarily want it to be in the future, but the content, we'd like to know about the content, what you think of how we presented it, the sort of the layout, and I do appreciate that we're doing this live. There's parts of this is going to work better than others, but what kind of content, what's your feeling on the content, and what sort of content you want to see going forward, because we want this to be a useful resource for you. And if you ask us questions, we're going to answer them. So please do that. That would be great. Even if it's to say, didn't like it, as long as you're saying why you didn't like it, we can use that to improve and add better content, and that's part of it. Don't be afraid of doing that, because like I said right at the beginning, we've both been called all the names under the sun at some point. We're quite happy. We've both got thick skins. We want to know so that we can alter this around, move it around so that it helps you out.
Can I just say, if people are going to make a negative comment, which we welcome, try and make it constructive.
Yeah,
Just turning
absolutely.
around and saying you're crap isn't really constructive. It doesn't help us in any way.
No,
So
absolutely.
if you're going to say you're crap because, and then say
Exactly.
what, that would
So,
help us and we'd appreciate that. If nothing else, help us stop being so crap.
yeah, absolutely. And, I don't know about Steve, but I've certainly heard all the ginger jokes, so you can refrain from those. But
And I'm getting more bald jokes, so I don't care. We're not here. We're not here. It's not about our looks. It's what's inside here, not what's outside here. And if
absolutely.
people can see past that, they will make an absolute fortune in business, John, from joining with us,
Absolutely.
communicating, getting involved, being part of this community, sending the questions in, leaving the comments, sharing the videos, showing the video themselves. Just sharing the videos themselves. I'm sure you've all got one of these, a mobile phone with a camera. Shoot a little video, and just say, look, been watching your video that you put together, really like it. This is me, by the way. Can you comment on this next time? This topic would be good. You covered this. I didn't really agree with it because of X, Y, and Z. Great, we'll take that feedback on board. You get a shout out on it and people get to see your opinion as well. So like John said, we want it to be a two-way thing this. So just want to tell that in there, John, but I'm really pumped about obviously next week's video. So just tell people a little bit more about that and then we can maybe wrap this up. We can start planning for next week's shoot then.
Next week, our topic for next week is going to be, what is a business? So I know that everybody out there is either looking to start a business or is already in business. But what is the definition of a business to you? I know that talking to Steve in the past, we have different definitions of what a business is, but there's also some kind of overlap as well. And different business models require different types of definitions. So I think that's going to be quite an interesting start point for the topic, and we'll see where it goes from there. Obviously, if we've got any comments or any specific questions on the pages, we're going to look at those as well and start to deal with those as well.
Yeah, I think
So
it's important just to say to people, John, at this point that don't take a definition as something that's going to be really boring. I hate boring subjects. I won't make anything boring. If
no,
it's boring to me, I'll not be interested. So I'll just wear a clown suit or something just to liven it up. But it's a case. Definition is more an understanding as to what is a business, so that when you're planning your first business or you're just starting a business, is it right? Is it set up correctly? Is it correctly? Is it structured right as a business should be? So I suppose that's the kind of definition is it we're going to get across.
Yeah, I think to me the whole idea of next week's session is about how you build a foundation that's going to
Yes.
last, because there's going to be people who are going to be watching this who have been in business for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and they're saying it's not going the way I expected.
Yeah.
And for those people, it's going to be just as important as for the people who are just starting out, because at some point you've got to say, well, if the building's waving in the wind, it's not the top floor that's the problem. It's the bit that's in the ground, and it's the foundations. And you're going to have to strip back and start to look at that. And we're going to talk about how you do that. We're going to talk about how you really build a foundation that survives.
I suppose we're starting really steady with these videos and build the momentum up, because we don't want to bombard people with lots of overload at the moment. Like procrastination might start in and one thing or another. So these videos might seem a bit tame, might be a little bit, I need a bit of a shake to wake myself back up. So please do stick with us, because as we go through these videos series week by week, the content and the information is going to become more and more relevant. And doing the soft foundations is no good. We want strong foundations, which is what we're doing now. We're being really careful. We're just easing you into the thing, so that when we really get into the really nuts and bolts and start really pumping this information out to you on the weekly videos, that you understand where we're coming from. I think it's important that everybody gets to know who we are, where we're coming from, so it's interpreted correctly.
I think you're absolutely right. And the other thing is, of course, that because we want to work with a lot of feedback on in the community that's and the network that's growing there, we can tailor the videos each week to, well, what is the subject that's coming up the most? What is the thing that's going to be a benefit to the most people? And we're going to work on that way. So once those comments start to come in, what people are going to find is that the content in these videos and the things that we're going to be talking about are, like you say, going to become a lot more relevant.
Yeah.
And I think on that note, I think we've taken up enough people's time, and it's time to put an end to it. So people, you have your homework, you know where you're going. Onto the Facebook page, facebook.com/Business Growth Weekly. Tell us who you are, tell us why you're in business, and tell us what you do. And also give us some feedback about what you thought of the first show, the kind of things you would like to see us talk about, and talk about on the forums as well.
Yep, absolutely. Look forward to seeing you all next week.
Fantastic.
Have a good one.
Yes, you too.